Over the last few years, business leaders have indicated to me that they felt that somehow 9001-2008 edition wasn't really saying much to them, that somehow the language was aimed at other people in their organisation. And I did get what they were saying, but I also know this wasn't the intent of ISO. What I thought was really useful was ISO actually carried out a very large worldwide survey. I think nearly 12,000 professionals were interviewed, and it was asking them, what do you think of the current standard? What do you think is missing? Do you think anything should change, or do you think it should carry on? And they found that a significant number of people did actually want the standard changed. Some wanted it changed more drastically than others. But what they asked for was, what are the key things you do want in the standard? And typically the voice of the customer came out as the big one, and 9001 has always been about enhancing customer satisfaction. Maybe it needed emphasizing a bit more. Resource management was another one, which had always been in the standard. But there were some new things coming up. There was a need for risk management to be included in the standard. There was also a need for more detail on measurement. How do we measure performance? How do we measure customer satisfaction? How do we know we're getting a return on investment? There was also something came up called knowledge management. How do we manage the knowledge in the organisation? And it reminded me of a chat I had several years ago with an operations director, and we were talking at length about risk in his business. And I can remember him saying about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, he said, "David, I've just realised something. I'm the biggest risk in my own business." And I said, "Oh, right, what do you mean?" And he said, "Well, I've got so much knowledge up here that I've built over the years. I don't know how people are going to cope when I go or if I get ill." And I thought this was very interesting, and I think that the retention of knowledge is not easy for a business to cope with. But risk management, of course, is much broader than that. It's about anything that could go wrong, that could stop a company achieving its objectives. There was another thing that came out of the survey, that people wanted a systematic way to problem solve and to learn from mistakes. Again, it kind of bit in the standard, but did it need emphasizing a bit and made more robust? And I was speaking to a business unit director a couple of years ago, and he was saying that he wanted 9001 to do just that. He said, "I want us to stop making mistakes again. I want us to have a process whereby we learn from what's happened and we stop it happening again." And I said, "Well, so are you telling me that your customers haven't pressurized you to get 9001? He said, "No, we don't need it. I think we need it." I thought this was very fascinating. It really resonated with me. And the new standard, 9001-2015, is very interesting in that so many of those things that came out of the survey are now in the standard. Risk-based thinking is in the standard. The whole standard is preventive in its approach. There certainly is more on measurement. There certainly is more about systematically learning. And there is even a section on knowledge management. So all those things are in the standard, and I do think it's great that this survey has really got ISO to listen to the customers. After all, it's all about customer satisfaction. Now at Batalas, where we train this standard, we've really analysed it in a lot of detail, and I do think business leaders are going to find the new standard much more aligned to their business strategy. For instance, in the context clause, which most of us are seeing as a powerful new clause that really gets an organisation to look at all the issues that might stop it achieving its objectives. This could be market forces, this could be technology issues, and also look at all their interested parties. What interested parties might make a complaint, for instance. They might not necessarily be customers. I think this is something that business leaders are going to get a lot out of. But converse to that, 9001-2015 is really expecting a lot more from top management. There's a lot more requirements for top management to demonstrate their commitment to the system and their active involvement in the quality management system. And if the quality management system is completely aligned to the business, this should be a formality. But I know that it might be a challenge for business leaders, so I do advise them to really have a good look at the new standard and see what it's saying. And it is my belief that they will get more out of it, and it will help them as an organisation to make improvements.